If you're looking at self-publishing your own book, I'm here to help, hopefully. My name's Kieran Jordan and well, no it is, but I messed up my words. My name's Kieran Jordan and this year I'm self-publishing my debut novel, Backmarker. I've been working on this for a little while now and I'm currently deep in the middle of the whole self-publishing process. So I thought I'll take you through everything step by step, what's been happening, offer up a bit of insight, and maybe it'll be of some interest to you if you're looking to do it yourself. 1, the idea. So my own novel Backmarker focuses on a struggling Mazda MX-5 driver as we follow him over the season as he learns to cope with the battle between passion and expectation. I'll be putting more about the story out there as we get closer to publication, so that's all you're getting for now. The idea with Backmarker first started as just me really wanting to film with cars. I think after doing theatre for a little bit, I wanted to switch up the gears, something completely different to what I was doing before. And then I just happened to come across this whole world of Mazda MX-5 racing and never really wavered from that. But Backmarker wasn't only a book, it actually started out as a script for a TV series. I spent a good while developing it and completing the script, doing a pitch deck, and then having a nice little package of it already. As I was working on the script, I realised that there was a lot more I wanted to get into with this whole world and topic. A few years ago, if you would have asked me about writing a book, I would have been so absolutely not happening. I think my mindset back then was like, I can write multiple scripts in the time I could write a book. But the more I worked on this particular project, the more it felt like an interesting way to take it. When you write a script for an unproduced TV show, just something you would hopefully want to get made out to pick up an agent or whatever, you only write the first episode. So I only had a tiny part of the story, but I kind of wanted to see it completed in a way. And then so I began to write a book. One thing I would say about writing a book and the initial idea for it, make sure it's not something that's gonna run out of steam halfway through. It may seem like something interesting to begin with, but when you dive into it and become stuck because there's nowhere to take the story, it's gonna put you in an awkward position and just ultimately make you become stuck in your own writing. Plan it out. I had the entire series planned out before starting the book, so I knew that there was enough there and that I had a solid direction to go. So I think in the whole initial idea stage, make sure it's solid, make sure there's enough there, and make sure it's actually something you want to write about, especially because it could take you a long time. 2, the research. This is so incredibly important and can actually change the entirety of your writing. The story, how you write, the overall book essentially. Research isn't just about getting your facts right so no one can pull you up on anything if you're wrong. You do want your facts to be right, and I really hope mine are. But it's a lot more about getting a real understanding about what you're writing about. There's no way I could have done the justice to this world without the research that I did. I made sure to go out and speak to drivers, get their perspective on things, go to race weekends to see how everything worked, the atmosphere, the sounds, the people, just done as much as humanly possible. And where I was going into this thinking a lot of my book will be about the adrenaline fueled racing, that aspect, what naturally started to happen is that I started to look more at the people. There's a real community at the heart of all this, and that started to become so much more interesting than the actual races themselves. So I went from the races being the star to shift and focus on the characters, the different people you find in this world and their own personal journey. It became a lot more character focused, which then in turn has made the book more accessible to those who don't know a thing about racing. It's kind of a good entry-level way into this world through these characters and their own personal story. Research highlighted to me a different direction to go in that I wouldn't have thought of on my own. It can give you a different angle on what you think you already know, and if that is more interesting and engaging for your work, then that's a win and definitely not a waste of time. Because some people think research too much research is pointless. I wouldn't ever say it's pointless. There will be someone out there who does appreciate them little details you put in, and I just think it just makes the world you're building stronger and your writing stronger overall. 3, the writing. You've got your idea, you've done your research, now comes the worst part of writing. It sounds really bleak, but it's true. So I officially began to write Backmarker around January 2025. I was writing the majority of the book while working a 9-to-5 job, as I'm sure a lot of you will be, and that can be difficult. And when it comes to writing, one of the hardest things is just to get started. And if you have mapped out where your story goes, you're gonna have a much easier time than if you're just pulling stuff from the top of your head and then just seeing where it takes you next. Like I said earlier, I had a 30-page document, the entire overview of the series for the show. And so I knew exactly the direction the story was heading, characters, everything. And for me, that made the process so much easier in a way, and a lot more quicker than if I was sitting down and doing it all for the first time. You may have something similar, or you may not, but if you're a madman and just go into writing a book without knowing where you're going, that's fine too, but you people do scare me. The way a lot of the writing worked for me was working a day, coming back, hiding away, locking myself away, and then just writing, or trying to write. I think most of you out there know that 90% of writing is procrastination. So trying to write most of the time. And then on weekends, just trying to do as much as you can for anything that you lost during the week. And it's hard to make writing sound interesting to those who don't do it, because most of it is just sitting behind a laptop and trying to get something down on a page. There's loads of tips for writing out there, but one of the things I can say is find what works for you. Don't think you have to do something a certain way because it worked for someone else. We all work differently, our brains work differently. Pick out anything that resonates with you and fits in with your process and ignore the rest. You will get your best writing if you focus on yourself and not trying to emulate what someone else is doing. Weird segue, but here's a tip that worked for me. It may not work for you, it may do. So for example, stopping in the middle of chapters, not at the end of them. So what I mean by this is, at the beginning of writing, I always tried to finish what my writing session, anything, at the end of a chapter, at the end of a scene, somewhere where there is a clear end to what's been happening. But what I found with that was, it was much harder to begin writing again when I came back to it, because there was nothing there to get me back in the flow. I was essentially starting again each time and had to force myself into the correct mindset to try and write. There was nothing to bounce off of. So what I started to do was, when I knew I wanted to stop for the night or whatever, I always tried to make sure I stopped in the middle of a scene, a chapter, just in the middle of whatever was happening. What that allowed me to do was, when I came back to it the next day, I was able to read the pages beforehand, and then I was instantly back into it, because I was able to flow from what's already been written. I was just instantly back where I needed to be. It was a little shortcut to get back to it, instead of sitting there at the start of a new chapter trying to get my head where it needs to be able to continue on. 4, 3, I can't count. 4, finding a publisher. Ooh, it's all starting to get real. So you have your manuscript, you finished the sometimes torturous process of writing, and now you want to get it out there, you want to take that next step. If you have a quick search of self-publishers, you will find there are so many out there that offer so many different services, and you've got to just make sure you don't just pick the first one you see. Take the time to have a proper search around and have a proper understanding of what each one can provide. You may not need everything some of these publishers offer, and you should make your decision based on what you want out of your book and its release. I did quite extensive research into the different self-publishers out there, because there is a lot. And I eventually landed on Troubadour Publishing. For my book, I wanted to make sure I get it out there as much as possible. And after looking at all the services Troubadour provide, it just felt like the right fit for me. I knew from the start I wanted the book to be a hardback with a dust jacket. I knew I wanted it to be easily available online for people to purchase. And I knew I needed guidance through this process, because I've never done this before. This is all entirely new to me, so I don't have, or didn't have, a single clue how any of this worked. Like TV, film, theatre, that's my background. So book publishing, completely in the dark about. And when I expressed what I wanted to Troubadour, it didn't seem like a hassle, and they were able to provide exactly what I was looking for. They sent a document explaining the entire process, step by step, what's going to be happening, the time frames, just really informing me how it will all work and what will be happening now and in the future, so I have a much better idea of what to expect. They were able to send me a book which will be similar to mine, so I can see what their hardbacks look like. They're able to set up pages on websites like Amazon and Waterstones, and they have been really great at communication. So finding the right publisher requires you to make the effort of looking into each one. 5, the copy edit. Just because I got to the end of book didn't mean my work was done. This is where editing came in. And Troubadour offered a copy edit service, which I opted in for. Now, what you might find when you're searching for editors is that there's two different types of edits people tend to do. There's the copy edit and the developmental edit. Why can't I say developmental? There we go. Won't be able to say it now. I can't say it anymore. Right. I've lost the ability to say developmental. Ooh. A developmental edit focuses on elements like structure and plot and character development, while a copy edit fine-tunes the text sentence by sentence for clarity and consistency, grammar, and style. So when I sent my manuscript to the publishers, I said I'd like a copy edit because that's what I thought I needed most at the time. Yeah, and they took it and they were like, great, we'll get back to you in a few weeks. And when it did come back, it came in a Word document, which was annotated start to finish all the way through on the editor's suggested changes. Yeah, and it's the 27th of November when I'm filming this. And a couple of days ago, I got my copy edit back, which is a big step in the process because it means I'm one step closer to finishing, but it also means I have a lot of work to do. It's so weird being with especially your own work for so long, and when it's getting to the time where you essentially have to let it go. Yeah, it just feels weird. And this type of stuff is so good because you get so blind to your own work that you're not going to pick up on half the stuff that they pick up on. So this is incredibly handy. They asked me to make any final changes I wanted to the manuscript before handing it back because this was essentially the last chance at making major changes. So this is where I became a hermit and locked myself away. But I just needed to go through start to finish the entirety of the book, as well as look at the changes that the copy editor did, as well as changes I wanted to make myself. And the copy edit did help me with looking at my work differently because they were able to pick on stuff that I was blind to or I didn't even think of. So having the copy edit mixed in with stuff I wanted to change, whether it's character-wise or just different changes at this point, was so incredibly helpful. But looking back at your own work, it's always weird, especially in the edit stage. One bit of advice I always suggest is to take a couple days away from your work and then come back to it with a fresh set of eyes. Shift your brain away from what you've been sucked into from the past God knows how many months. And when you come back to it, you'll just see it in a completely different light. You'll come back to your own work and be like, who wrote this shit? And then now it's time to fix it. Yeah, so I'm just here, just filming bits of short form content and completely forgot in the past week to update anything that has happened in the book. I know the last time I did anything to a camera, I was in the middle of my copy edit, which I got back. That's done, that's been and gone, that's in, handed that in, I think it was about a week ago today. Terrifying, knowing I can't make any major changes. I guess I could, but it would delay the book. And I don't want to do that. I think eventually you do have to let, especially writing wise, you do have to let it just go, which is obviously terrifying still. So I also got a form for marketing. So the blurb, author bio, keywords, all that good stuff. Which you'll see on the Troubadour website, Amazon listings, and sent off to retailers. So that's all making it very real. 6, the style proof. At this point, the book's content is pretty much locked in now, which is such a weird feeling when you've been with something for so long, but it doesn't mean there's no work to be done. The next stage in the process for me was the style proof. Once I submitted my edited manuscript, Troubadour got back to me. We're like, great. Next stage is the style proof. So they take the first 20 or so pages of the book, put it in their suggested style, and then essentially give you an idea of what the entirety of the book will look like stylistically, like format and font, size of certain titles, that sort of stuff. Just what it's actually going to look like on the page. I sent them my ideas of how, in my head, I wanted it to look, and then waited for it to come back in. I don't have a mic on, so I don't know why I'm clapping. So it's the 5th of January, and I have just gotten back my style proof. I don't even know when this is coming out, so I don't even know if I can show you any of this, but you can watch me watching it. So weird to see it set out almost a proper book.
I almost want to print it off to see it. Right. Right. I've not done too bad. I'm not gonna lie, that is wonky. Good enough just off first look seeing it in person compared to on a computer. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the start. I think one of the things I will ask to change is, I think I can show this. For each chapter that takes place at a different track, I have essentially a circuit map and what track it is. And at the moment, unless it's my terrible cutting out, but it does look the same in the proof here, it just seems a bit small on the page. So I might change that to make it a bit bigger, just so it like properly fills it. Exhilarating content this, I know. I've made a little book and it's a bit easier to see now. Ooh. Page numbers at the bottom, absolutely fine with. Name, title at the top. The font is pretty consistent with what I've been doing in the past. In all honesty, there's not much I would change. It is just weird being at this point where I am looking at what it's actually going to look like, especially in actually holding it, and the size as well, and hopefully if I've got it right. It's just a weird feeling. Let's just hope it's good.
So I sent them the change and went back and forth with them until I got a look that I was happy with. They were really responsive and quick with the changes I wanted to make. And like they sent me, each time I had a change, they sent me a new proof back with, so I can see exactly how the new changes would look, instead of just hoping that it would be the right decision. But yeah, I am happy with how the interior is gonna look, and I'm excited to actually just hold it in my hand. But that is where I am at the moment. I've approved the style proof, and now I'm just waiting to get the entirety of the book back in its actual format. So they're away working on that now, and I should get it relatively soon. I am right in the middle of this whole self-publishing journey, and there's still a lot more to come and like share. So I've got the cover design, which is being worked on at the moment. That should be coming. Then it comes to the proofreading, and then the actual print of the book, and then soon this year, the actual release. So I'm going to be sharing everything that's happening along the way, just fully documenting this process. So if you made it this far, subscribe, because I'm guessing you're interested, or a family member, probably just a family member. But if you're not someone who's related to me by blood, and you somehow have found this and are interested in this whole process, world, whatever, feel free to ask a question, anything, like, subscribe, do all the social things. This is my first one, give me a break. I don't really have an outro speech yet. Bye.